On August 19th, 2026, the data finally landed. I mean, Moderna and Merck's personalized mRNA cancer vaccine, intismeran autogene, combined with Keytruda, just succeeded in a massive phase 3 trial for melanoma.
Yeah, 11,137 patient trial, which is just a huge cohort for something like this.
Exactly. And here is the ultimate verdict right up front. This combination significantly reduced the risk of cancer returning, and it uses AI to select up to 34 custom neoantigens for every single patient.
Right, but we should clarify right away that it's not FDA approved yet.
Oh, absolutely not. And there's absolutely no commercial price tag attached yet either. So if you are building AI or tracking biotech, listen up. This is the practical blueprint of how machine learning actually integrates into a physical, life-saving manufacturing pipeline.
Yeah, this goes so far beyond any chatbot hype.
Okay, let's unpack this. The clinical benchmark we are looking at here is the INTERPATH-001 trial.
Right, and the detail that completely redefines how we evaluate this data is the patient population. All 11,137 patients had high-risk stage IB to stage IV melanoma.
But they enrolled only after their cancer had been completely removed by surgery, right?
Exactly. We are not looking at a drug designed to shrink a grapefruit-sized tumor on an MRI. We are evaluating a targeted mop-up operation.
Which means we are looking at two very specific metrics to measure success. Recurrence-free survival, or RFS, and distant metastasis-free survival, or DMFS.
Yeah, RFS is pretty straightforward. It's basically how long a patient lives without the cancer returning anywhere, even just a tiny local recurrence near the original surgical scar.
But DMFS is a critical one. I mean, that measures whether the cancer has spread to distant organs like the brain, the liver, or the lungs.
Right, because distant metastasis is the primary driver of mortality in melanoma. A local recurrence on the skin can often be excised again.
Sure, you just go back in.
Exactly. But once malignant cells establish a vascular supply in the liver or the brain, the systemic failure cascades quickly. The phase 3 trial met both the RFS and DMFS endpoints, demonstrating a statistically significant improvement over administering Keytruda alone.
Okay, we need to hit pause right there and deal with the math, because social media is currently circulating headlines claiming a 49% cure rate.
Oh yeah, I've seen those.
It's just a massive distortion of how clinical oncology data works, and it's pulling from the wrong trial entirely.
Yeah. The viral numbers floating around are actually from the older phase 2b data, which recently hit its 5-year follow-up milestone. In that smaller cohort, researchers observed a 49% lower risk of recurrence and a 59% lower risk of distant metastasis compared to the control group.
Which are relative risk reductions, right? Not absolute cure rates.
Exactly. They are relative.
Right. So if a patient has a baseline 20% chance of their cancer returning, a 50% relative reduction drops their personal risk down to 10%.
Yes, which is fantastic. But
It absolutely does not mean that 50 out of 100 people in a hospital ward are miraculously cured. It's an improvement in odds.
and for this new phase 3 trial, the hard percentages have not been publicly released yet. Furthermore, the overall survival data is still maturing.
Which is the ultimate metric of whether this combination actually extends human life across a large population.
Exactly. We are tracking disease suppression right now, not yet definitive longevity.
Which brings us to the actual engineering problem of suppressing that disease, because you can't just synthesize a massive batch of, like, melanoma vaccine and ship it to hospitals.
No, not at all. 2 patients with the exact same stage of melanoma will have tumors driven by completely different genetic mutations.
So to train the immune system, you have to build a custom biological profile for each individual.
What's fascinating here is how the pipeline starts. It begins with a physical biopsy of the patient's excised tumor and a standard blood draw. The laboratory performs whole exome sequencing on both.
So they are looking at all the protein coding genes.
Right. The healthy DNA in the blood serves as the baseline, and the tumor DNA reveals the somatic mutations. Those are the specific genetic errors that cause the healthy tissue to turn malignant.
But having a list of genetic typos doesn't give you a drug. You have to figure out which of those typos the immune system actually cares about.
And that is a staggering computational problem. A single tumor can contain hundreds, sometimes thousands, of unique mutations.
So how does the AI actually narrow that down?
Well, the algorithm's job is to evaluate the resulting neoantigens. When a cell's DNA is mutated, the proteins it produces are deformed. These deformed proteins are broken down into fragments called peptides.
Which the cell displays on its surface like molecular flags, right?
Exactly. Because these flags are mutated, they are entirely unique to the tumor. Normal cells do not carry them. The AI calculates the binding affinity of these mutated peptides to the patient's major histocompatibility complex, or MHC.
Okay, to use an analogy here, the mRNA vaccine is basically a customized wanted poster. The AI acts as the forensic sketch artist.
That's a good way to look at it.
It looks at the genetic wreckage of the tumor, simulates how those deformed proteins will actually look on the surface of a cell, and designs a poster featuring up to 34 specific mugshots.
Yeah, and when you inject the mRNA, you are handing that wanted poster directly to the immune system. You're pointing out the exact molecular flags it needs to hunt.
Wow, up to 34 targets.
Yeah, the algorithm is essentially predicting biological physics. It scores thousands of potential neoantigens based on how tightly they will fit into the MHC groove and how highly visible they will be to passing T cells.
And then it just picks the best ones.
Right. It ranks them and selects the top 34 candidates to be physically encoded into the synthetic mRNA sequence.
And this is where we have to completely separate the phrase AI designed from the generative AI boom. Because when people hear that an AI built a drug, they immediately picture scientists typing cure melanoma into a chatbot prompt.
Yeah. No, the architecture here has absolutely nothing to do with large language models or transformer-based text generation.
Yeah.
This is predictive structural biology.
Wait, so scientists aren't just prompting an LLM?
No, not at all. An LLM predicts the next logical token in a sequence of text based on statistical probability. The algorithms used by Moderna are calculating molecular interactions, electrostatic charges, peptide folding, and receptor binding affinities.
Well, and the timeline alone proves that this isn't riding the ChatGPT wave. Interpath 001 began in July 2023.
Exactly. The foundational machine learning models calculating these MHC binding affinities were being iterated on years before generative AI became mainstream.
So it's hardcore computational ranking.
Yes, the computational challenge isn't generating something novel. It is sorting through a massive data set of sequenced biology to predict a highly specific immune reaction.
It's basically predicting the future of a molecular interaction.
Precisely. The AI does not invent the mutations. It acts as a highly specialized filter to find the optimal targets that already exist within the patient's biology.
Okay, so once those 34 targets are finalized, that digital code has to be turned back into a physical reality. The transition from computational biology to N=1 manufacturing is just wild to me.
It really is. We are talking about synthesizing a custom mRNA strand encapsulated in lipid nanoparticles designed exclusively for the person whose DNA you just sequenced.
Because the drug changes because the patient's cancer changes.
Exactly. The synthetic mRNA functions purely as a temporary set of instructions. When the vaccine is injected into the patient's arm, specialized immune cells called dendritic cells absorb those lipid nanoparticles.
And then the body takes over.
Right. The patient's own cellular machinery, the ribosomes, reads the mRNA code and manufactures those 34 selected neoantigens.
It's literally sending a software update to the body's internal 3D printers. The body prints the mugshots, displays them on the cell surface, and trains the T cells to recognize them.
That's exactly what's happening on a cellular level.
But operationally, this completely shatters the traditional pharmaceutical business model. The entire industry is built on economies of scale, brewing millions of identical doses in massive vats.
Oh, absolutely. Here, the vial doesn't exist until the AI finishes its analysis, and the factory has to spin up a production line to make a single dose.
Which is so operationally awkward, you can't just pull a standard vial off a shelf.
No, it forces a transition from mass manufacturing to bespoke zero-latency biological production. And the margin for error is non-existent.
But even with the perfect wanted poster and a flawlessly manufactured mRNA vaccine, those T cells are going to hit a brick wall when they actually find the hidden cancer cells.
Because cancer isn't just hiding, it actively suppresses the immune system.
Right, which is why intismeran is completely reliant on Keytruda. The vaccine didn't beat cancer by itself?
No, intismeran alone is not enough. Keytruda is a monoclonal antibody that functions as an anti-PD-1 checkpoint inhibitor.
Okay, explain that mechanism.
Well, T cells have a receptor called PD-1, which acts as a built-in kill switch to prevent autoimmune diseases. Healthy cells express a protein called PD-L1 that binds to that receptor, essentially telling the T cell to stand down and not attack.
So it's like a molecular invisibility cloak.
Exactly. Melanoma cells hijack this system by coding themselves in PD-L1. So even if the immune system knows the cancer is there, the tumor flips the kill switch and the T cells are handcuffed.
And Keytruda physically blocks that interaction.
Right, it cuts the brakes.
So intismeran tells the immune system what to look for, the accelerator, while Keytruda removes the brakes, stopping the immune system from attacking.
Yes. The synergy of the combination therapy is the core of this breakthrough. Keytruda removes the immunosuppressive barrier, and the personalized mRNA vaccine provides the concentrated, high-fidelity targeting data.
Which proves the vaccine adds something meaningful on top of established immunotherapy.
The phase 3 data validates exactly that. The mRNA component adds something mathematically and clinically superior to just removing the brakes alone.
Okay, so what does this all mean? We have to ground this in clinical reality because AI and mRNA cure cancer is the exact headline clickbait farms are running. Does this combination actually cure cancer?
Absolutely not. The data does not support the word cure as a blanket statement.
Because it was tested on a single disease, right?
So first, yes, it evaluated a single oncology indication melanoma. Second, it was administered in the adjuvant setting.
Meaning post-surgery.
Exactly. The primary tumor masses were already in a medical waste bin before the first dose of the vaccine was ever manufactured.
So the therapy is hunting microscopic residual disease. It's targeting the invisible rogue cells floating in the lymphatic system or the bloodstream that the surgeon's scalpel couldn't possibly reach.
Yes, it is preventing those cells from seeding a new tumor, which is an entirely different biological challenge than attempting to dissolve a massive established tumor.
Because established tumors are fortified.
Right. Bulky tumors have necrotic cores, terrible vascularization, and a deeply hostile microenvironment that physically prevents T cells from penetrating the tissue.
So it's not a universal magic bullet?
No. The vaccine is highly effective at sweeping up circulating micrometastases, but it is not a magic bullet for dissolving late-stage, bulky disease.
Wait, but the trial parameters explicitly included stage 4 patients. When you hear stage 4, you think widespread metastatic disease, tumors established in multiple organs. How does an adjuvant mop-up operation fit with stage 4 cancer?
This raises an important question because the terminology can seem contradictory. The trial enrolled patients with completely resected stage 4 disease.
Resected meaning surgically removed.
Right. This means that while the melanoma had previously spread from the skin to distant organs, the metastatic sites were limited enough, often termed oligometastatic disease, that surgeons could physically go in and remove every single detectable mass.
Okay, so a patient might have had a tumor in their lung, but the thoracic surgeon successfully removed that lobe. By the time they enter the InterPath 001 trial, their scans are completely clean. There is no visible cancer left.
Correct. The study asks whether the immune system can be trained to suppress the hidden malignant cells that inevitably get left behind, preventing the cancer from taking root a second time.
Well, if the platform works by training the immune system on genetic typos, it makes complete sense why melanoma was chosen as the starting point. Melanoma is notoriously noisy at a genetic level.
Oh, absolutely. It has an exceptionally high tumor mutational burden, or TMB. The primary driver of melanoma is prolonged exposure to ultraviolet radiation, which aggressively damages DNA over decades.
And a high mutational burden means more typos. More typos mean more deformed proteins, giving the AI algorithm a massive menu of potential abnormal neoantigens to rank.
Yes, it gives the immune system louder, more obvious targets to lock onto. Furthermore, melanoma is highly immunogenic.
Meaning the immune system naturally wants to fight it.
Right. Checkpoint inhibitors like Keytruda already have a strong track record of efficacy in this disease state. The immune system is already primed to attack melanoma tissue if the immunosuppressive barriers are removed. It was the perfect biological testing ground for the platform.
But this proves the platform works in melanoma. It doesn't mean every other type of tumor will be as cooperative or have as many useful targets, right? What happens when you encounter a cold tumor? A cancer with a very low mutational burden that doesn't give the AI enough flags to choose from.
That is the defining biological hurdle for the next decade of oncology. The focus is rapidly shifting from a specific melanoma vaccine to validating a completely new therapeutic class entirely.
Here's where it gets really interesting because they are expanding fast.
Oh, very fast.
Mm.
Moderna and Merck have already initiated phase 3 studies in non-small cell lung cancer. They are expanding clinical trials into kidney and bladder cancers as well.
And the competition is moving just as fast. Roche and BioNTech are doing similar work, heavily invested in personalized mRNA neoantigen therapies for colon and pancreatic cancers.
Right, and if this computational and biological pipeline can crack pancreatic cancer, which is infamous for building dense fibrotic walls around itself that immune cells struggle to penetrate, the implications are staggering.
It fundamentally rewrites the standard of care across the board.
It does, but validating the biological efficacy across solid tumors is only half the battle. If this technology scales globally, the bottleneck shifts from immunology to industrial engineering.
Because personalized medicine fails if a scientifically perfect treatment arrives too late. You have to manufacture tens of thousands of entirely unique individual drugs and deliver them within a clinically viable window.
Yes, time to vein is the critical metric here. If the sequencing, the AI processing, the manufacturing, and the quality assurance take 8 weeks, the patient's micrometastases might have already established an inoperable tumor.
The bespoke model fails if the logistics are just too slow.
Exactly, which relies on an entirely different layer of artificial intelligence that rarely makes the headlines.
Oh, you mean the manufacturing AI?
Right. Moderna utilizes an AI-driven scheduling algorithm within their Maestro platform. You aren't managing a factory floor with a single continuous output. You have hundreds of isolated bioreactors and purification workflows running simultaneously, each producing a drug for exactly one human being on Earth.
That is insane to think about. The system has to orchestrate the inbound sequencing data, allocate physical manufacturing resources, monitor real-time quality control constraints, manage the liquid nitrogen cold chain shipping logistics.
And synchronize it all with the patient's exact clinical infusion schedule.
Right. They actually began supplying clinical batches from a dedicated facility in Marlborough, Massachusetts in 2025, specifically to handle the sheer logistical complexity of this.
The algorithm is preventing logistical spaghetti. If one batch fails quality assurance, the system has to instantly reallocate resources to synthesize a replacement without delaying the other 99 bespoke therapies currently on the floor.
All of this complex orchestration brings us to the final hurdles for developers and patients alike, safety, cost, and FDA approval. For anyone tracking the regulatory timeline, intismeran is not FDA approved as of August 2026.
No, it remains strictly an investigational therapy. The top-line data from the Phase 3 trial did not reveal any new or unexpected safety signals, which provides a strong foundation.
But the FDA is going to scrutinize it heavily.
Extremely heavily. They have the 5-year follow-up data from the Phase 2b trial. But the regulatory threshold for a fundamentally new class of bespoke genetic medicine is incredibly high.
And even if the FDA grants approval, maybe in a 2027 launch window, we have to remember there is no commercial price tag yet. The healthcare economics are terrifying.
Yeah, the structural cost floor for N=1 therapies is unprecedented.
You are billing for physical tumor biopsies, whole exome sequencing, intensive cloud compute time for the algorithm, single-use bioreactor manufacturing, bespoke QA, and hypersecure cold chain transport, all for a single person.
It will test the absolute limits of global healthcare budgets. We are transitioning from the economics of mass-produced pharmaceuticals to the economics of customized biological logistics.
When you look at all these complex moving parts, you realize the real takeaway from Interpath 001. The breakthrough isn't just AI, or that a supercomputer suddenly woke up and solved oncology.
No. If we connect this to the bigger picture, the true milestone is the successful, large-scale integration of highly specialized disciplines. Genomics, predictive machine learning models, automated manufacturing software, synthetic mRNA engineering, and clinical immunology, all executed flawlessly within a tight, time-critical loop to survive a massive Phase 3 trial.
Real-world AI isn't an autonomous chatbot acting as a doctor. It sits deep inside specialized workflows, entirely dependent on biological validation and human clinical expertise. So if this technology scales, what happens to our healthcare infrastructure when mass manufacturing is replaced by one-to-one, custom-coded biological logistics? Let us know what you think in the comments.
It's going to be a massive shift.
Absolutely. Hey everyone, Asmat and the Binary Burst AI team here. We're an independent, multidisciplinary research group consisting of a clinical psychologist, a pharma researcher, and veteran software engineers, all dedicated to cutting through the AI hype with actual benchmark data and deep dive analysis. We don't do shallow news roundups. Every deep dive is funded by this community. Your subscriptions directly cover our server costs, API benchmarking tests, and the hours our team spends verifying data so you don't have to. If this analysis saves you time or helps you make better engineering decisions, subscribe. It's the best way to keep this research independent and ad-free.